Hi guys, and welcome to the Stephen King Sematary Club. Hi guys, we are talking about Thinner, which is another Richard Bachman book, and this is the copy I'm using. I love the red and black. Here's the back of it. This is still the point where Stephen King had not been identified as Richard Bachman, so it is dedicated to my wife, Claudia Inez Bachman, which is funny. So I don't know if Tabitha is technically Claudia. I don't know. But that's where we're going to start today. And I thought that the best summary of this whole story kind of comes later in the book. So that's what I'm going to read to you right now. So we're going to jump ahead, which I don't usually do. Quote, "He had killed the wife of the old gypsy with the rotting nose, and his sometime golf partner, good old tit-grabbing Judge Carey Rossington, had let him off without even so much as a tap on the wrist. And so the old gypsy had decided to impose his own sort of justice on one fat Fairview lawyer, whose wife had picked the wrong day to give him his first and only hand job in a moving car." Page 70. Okay, so in summation, main character, Bill William Halleck. He is a lawyer. He hit and killed an old woman. He was brought up on charges of vehicular manslaughter, and he got off because he was friends with the judge, and his wife was kind of partially to blame because she gave him a hand job, which caused him to not concentrate on what he was doing. The woman stepped out in front of him, and he should have had time to stop, but because he was distracted, he did not. And he rolled over her and killed her. So the old man touches him and says "thinner," and this is the curse that is starting this book and ending this book. We start with chapter 1, which is just titled 246, and that is how much Halleck currently weighs, and he progressively gets thinner throughout this entire book, which is an interesting premise. So no matter what he eats tons of junk food, he eats lots of food, none of it matters because he continually loses weight. And it is such a good premise because that is a death sentence. So Bill Halleck, he's married to Heidi, and they have a daughter, Linda. And Heidi's part in this is very interesting because she was in the car, like I said, giving Bill a hand job, and she therefore is complicit, but she's not getting blamed for any of it. So Bill is shouldering all of this, and she has kind of gotten off completely scot-free. And he starts, throughout the course of this book, resenting her for her role in this and her escape from punishment. And we have one of my favorite characters, Rich Ginelli, who is known as the Hammer, and he is a gangster. He is someone that Bill was assigned to when he was kind of a junior lawyer starting out, and no one in the law firm really wanted to deal with the mob boss. Bill and Rich became kind of friends. I do love a good vintage mafia story, and I like that these characters appear in Stephen King's work. There's the guy who was killed at the Overlook Hotel, what's his name? Vito the Chopper. Then we had the guy from Roadwork that our main character goes to get dynamite. And I'm so fascinated by it. I love the Godfather movies. Al Pacino is my favorite actor of all time. I think the Godfather movies are just stunning visually, airtight. Everything about them is amazing. And when we talk about Rich Ginelli in here, he is not described as such, but I always picture him as Clemenza. And I think actually he probably is more like Tessio because he's tall and thin. But for some reason, when I'm reading this, I see Clemenza. And he's going to be one of the main characters in this, and he's my favorite. He is my favorite of all of them. There's so much to him. You know, he has an interesting past. He has an interesting way of dealing with things. He's very uncouth. All this stuff. I love it. So when we start out this novel, disregard that summary I read to you. We only get little bits and pieces of what happened. So at first it was the old woman's fault. At first she darted into traffic. At first we thought that it was entirely her fault. Then little things start coming into the story. We find out that Heidi was, distracting Bill, and then we find out later that the woman wasn't darting. Yeah, maybe she didn't look both ways before crossing the street, but on a normal day, Bill admits that he would have stopped with enough time to spare, you know. And it's just interesting because he is lying to himself at the beginning. And then as the story progresses, the more he thinks about it, the more things come to light, and the more anger he starts feeling toward Heidi and her part in this. And the more we start sympathizing with the old man who put a curse on him. So it does kind of shift quite a bit along the way. And then the other characters in this, the judge who lets him off, he's kind of lecherous and doesn't seem professional in any way, and he should have recused himself because he knows Bill Halleck. So we have kind of a dislike or a disdain for this man. And then we find out that Bill is just consistently losing weight and people are starting to get concerned about him, especially Heidi. She insists that he goes to see the doctor because he's lost 30 pounds in 3 weeks. And his doctor is also part of this little clique in this town, and the doctor is addicted to cocaine and he's using cocaine during business hours. And so he's kind of an unsavory, reprehensible character, and we kind of don't like him. So a lot of the characters in this we are not necessarily repulsed by, but we do feel kind of disgust with. And I would say actually that the gangster character, Janelli, is one of the most likable characters in this whole thing. So that is an interesting twist. So that is the premise. We will get into the real meat of the story next week. But I wanted to set it up, and I thought I would do it in a different way this time. Just kind of read you that large summary at the beginning, and then we will go into once things really start rolling, because as of now we have Bill, Heidi, and Linda are all kind of dealing with the aftermath. Linda has been teased and picked on at school because her dad is, a murderer, basically. So she's kind of taking the brunt of that at school, and Heidi is existing as though nothing is wrong, She's kind of like, well, the judge said you didn't do anything wrong, you've been cleared of the charges, let's move on with our lives. And Bill is the one who, can't move past it, because not only did he hit and kill someone, he is experiencing something that he can't explain to anyone else. Why is he losing this weight? Does he believe in curses? Is there a possibility that he has indeed been cursed? So now we start getting into the investigative part, and things are going to get extra crazy. And the story is so strange, yet so intriguing. I do love this one. This is my favorite Richard Bachman book. Probably. I have to reread Blaze. That was a story that was released more recently, probably in the late 2000s, I think, because Stephen King found it and published it under the Richard Bachman name. And I believe it was modeled after Of Mice and Men, which I love that book. So I will wait to definitely say which one is my favorite. But in the past, before that, this had always been my favorite Richard Bachman story. And I think part of why I like this one so much is the fact that it melds more of the Richard Bachman true, gritty, real life stuff with Stephen King's supernatural stuff. So it actually has a supernatural bent to it, which the other Richard Bachman stories do not. Those are only about human nature, only about reality. This one is kind of like Richard Bachman dips his toes into the water of the supernatural and incorporates that a little bit. So I do think that's part of why I like it so much. It marries the two and feels more like a Stephen King novel to me. Have a spooky day.